Hey, my name is Daniel. I'm 27 years old and I live outside Cedar Hollow, Oregon, where the trees outnumber the people about 1,000 to 1. I run a repair shop for tractors and farm equipment. It's not the kind of job that makes for good stories at dinner parties. Most days I've got grease under my nails by 8 in the morning and it doesn't come out until Sunday. I smell like diesel more than I smell like soap. The radio in my shop only picks up one station, so I've heard the same 40 songs about 600 times each. My hands know the inside of an engine better than they know most people. I used to have a wife, Sarah. She died 3 years ago. There was a phone call at 2 in the morning, and by the time I hung up, my whole life had already changed shape without asking me first. No warning. No last conversation worth remembering. No chance to say anything that mattered. One sentence from a stranger and it was done. People say things like, "At least it was quick," like that's supposed to help. It doesn't. Quick just means you don't get to prepare. It means you go to bed married and wake up something else, and nobody tells you what that something else is called. I stopped opening the curtains in the front room after that. Not on purpose. I just noticed one day, months later, that I hadn't touched them in a long time. Sarah used to open them every morning, first thing, rain or not. She said a house needed to see the day coming. I still smile when I need to. I go to the hardware store. I fix Bill Tanner's baler every spring like clockwork. But there's a part of me that never left that hospital corridor, standing under those fluorescent lights, waiting for someone to come tell me it was a mistake. Nobody ever did. My shop is at the edge of town, an old barn I converted with my own hands the year Sarah and I got married. There's a workbench along the back wall, still got her handwriting on a masking tape label, Sarah's drawer, over a drawer of parts one never bothered to relabel. I open it sometimes for no reason. Just to see the tape. Old plumbing, that's what grief is like. Everything leaks a little so nobody fixes it. Then one day the floor floods and everyone stands around asking why you didn't mop faster. I don't talk about any of this much. Cedar Hollow's small enough that everyone already knows, and small enough that nobody brings it up twice. They just give you that look, sorry, careful, a little relieved it wasn't them, and then they ask about the weather. That's how I liked it, honestly. Quiet. Predictable. Nothing that could break because nothing was really moving. I didn't know yet that a woman with 3 kids and a duffel bag was about to walk into my shop and change all of that, whether I was ready or not. It was a Tuesday, middle of October, when Elena Marsh walked into my shop with a duffel bag over one shoulder and 3 kids trailing behind her like ducklings. She had that look. Tired eyes, hair coming loose from a ponytail that had given up sometime around noon, hands that kept moving even while she stood still, smoothing a jacket collar, checking a zipper, patting a shoulder. She wasn't glamorous. She was real, in the way that makes you look twice. "I'm looking for work," she said. "Any kind." Behind her, the littlest one, a girl maybe 6, stared at me without blinking. Not rude. Careful. Like she was reading a label on a can before deciding whether to eat what was inside. Elena explained it plain, no dressing it up. Her husband had passed 2 years back. She'd been renting a place in the next county over, but the landlord found out she was a widow with 3 kids and decided that was a liability he didn't want. He'd said it right to her face, no one wants a widow with 3 kids, and he wasn't about to have that mess under his roof either. His exact words, she said. Her jaw was tight when she said it, but her voice didn't shake. So here I am. I didn't say much. I looked at the 3 kids. I looked at my empty house with its unopened curtains and its 2 quiet mornings. "I need someone at the front counter and someone who can cook better than I do," I said. "Which isn't hard. I've got a room over the shop and 2 spares in the house. Boards included if you help out." She studied me the way her daughter had. "What's the catch?" "No catch. Your own room, your own life. This isn't anything but work and a roof." She thought about it a long moment, arms crossed, looking at her kids like she was doing math nobody else could see. "One question," she said. "You got a problem with noise?" "Because I've got 3 kids and none of them understand the concept of an inside voice." "I've got a radio that only plays one station," I said. "I think we'll manage." She almost smiled. Didn't let herself finish it. Fine, she said. We'll try it. Monday, we start proper. That night, before they'd even unpacked, the little one, the one who'd stared at me so hard, walked up and handed me a folded piece of paper. A drawing. Stick figures, a house, a dog that didn't exist yet. For you, she said, and walked off like it was nothing. Her older brother, maybe 9, caught my eye. She doesn't do that for just anybody, he said, like he was passing along a warning and a compliment at the same time. I believe you, I told him. Nothing else. He nodded once, satisfied, and went back to his sister. Elena watched the whole thing from the doorway, arms still crossed, that same tired, careful look on her face. She didn't say anything either. But something in her shoulders came down half an inch, like she'd been holding a weight and set part of it on a shelf for the night. I didn't know what I'd agreed to yet. But I knew it wasn't nothing. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm I hadn't had in years. Elena ran the front counter like she'd been doing it her whole life, sharp with customers who tried to talk their way out of paying full price, patient with the old-timers who just wanted someone to listen while they explained what was wrong with their tractor for the third time. The kids did homework at the kitchen table while she cooked, and the house smelled like something other than my own bad coffee for the first time in 3 years. The middle boy, Sam, kept his distance at first. He watched me the way his little sister had, quiet, careful, weighing something. One evening he sat down across from me while I was cleaning a carburetor and just watched for a solid 10 minutes without saying a word. You don't yell, he finally said. Not a question. An observation. No reason to, I said. He nodded like that settled something important, and went back to his homework. That was the whole conversation. It was enough. The real laugh, the one I still think about, happened on a Thursday. Elena was trying to teach the girls a recipe from her mother, and the flour canister slipped and dusted her head to shoe in white. She stood there a second, blinking through it, and then she laughed. Not a polite laugh. A real one, loud and sudden, the kind that filled the whole kitchen and startled the dog we didn't have yet into existing in everyone's imagination for a second. The kids joined in. Even I did, leaning against the doorframe with a wrench still in my hand. It was the first real laugh I'd heard from her since she walked into my shop. Something in my chest loosened when I heard it, like a bolt finally breaking free after years of rust. Then there was the fence gate. The hinge had been sagging for a month, and one Saturday she came out to help me hold it steady while I worked the new pin into place. Her hand was on the top rail, mine was under it, and for a second, just a second, our fingers overlapped where neither of us expected the other to be. Neither of us moved right away. I felt it more than I want to admit. The warmth of her hand, the calluses on her palm that told me she'd worked hard for a long time. She didn't pull her hand back fast. She didn't leave it there either. She just moved it, slow, like it was the natural next thing to do, and went back to holding the gate like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything. Neither did she. But I noticed the way she kept glancing at that gate for the rest of the afternoon, like it had become something more than hardware. A missing screw can be replaced. A crooked hinge can be straightened. People are harder, but for the first time in a long while, I wasn't sure that was such a bad thing to be working on. The trouble came from Marjorie Kell. Marjorie ran the flower shop 2 doors down and had wanted, for reasons that went back further than I cared to think about, for her niece to end up running my shop books someday, and maybe more than the books. When that never happened, she filed it away like a bill she intended to collect on eventually. She got her chance on a Saturday morning at the farmer's market, in front of half the town. I did some asking around, Marjorie said, loud enough for the whole row of stalls to hear. She had a folder in her hand like she was presenting evidence in a courtroom. You know she was fired from her last job. Accused of stealing from the register. Left town owing rent. And now she's got her hooks into you and your shop, Daniel, with 3 kids trailing along like some kind of. That's a lie, Elena said. Her voice was steady, but her hands had gone still at her sides, which I was starting to understand meant the opposite of calm. Is it? Marjorie held up a paper. This is a copy of the police report. It's a copy of an accusation, Elena said. Not a conviction. Because it wasn't true. The owner's son took the money and blamed me because I was the easiest person to blame. I fought it. I won. But you didn't print that part, did you? Marjorie's mouth opened, then closed. For 1 second, just one, something flickered across her face that wasn't anger. It looked almost like grief, like she was seeing someone else standing where Elena stood. Then it was gone, and the anger came back to cover it. I stepped up beside Elena. Not in front of her. Beside her. She answers for herself, I said, quiet, even. You don't get to answer for her. Marjorie looked at me like I'd slapped her. You don't know what she is, Daniel. I know what I've seen, I said. That's enough for me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The market had gone dead quiet, everyone pretending to inspect tomatoes while listening to every word. Elena didn't look at me for support. She looked straight at Marjorie. I'm not going anywhere, she said. Print whatever you want. It won't change what's true. Marjorie stood there a moment longer, folder shaking slightly in her hand, and then turned and walked off without another word. Elena's hands were trembling now that it was over, the kind of shake that comes after, not during. I didn't touch her. I just stood there next to her until the market noise came back up around us, ordinary and forgiving. Thank you, she said quietly, for not talking for me. Wasn't my story to tell, I said. She looked at me a second too long. Neither of us looked away first. It happened on a Wednesday, the kind of ordinary afternoon that gives no warning about what it's carrying. Sam had been helping me in the shop, handing me tools, learning the names of things. He reached up for a wrench on the top shelf just as I turned around with a stack of steel piping in my arms. The shelf bracket gave way. I don't remember deciding to move. My body just went, piping hitting the floor, my arm catching Sam across the chest and shoving him back as the shelf came down where he'd been standing a half-second before. The edge of it caught my forearm instead. Tore it open pretty good. Sam was fine, just shaken, but there was blood running down to my wrist and the kind of ringing quiet that comes right after something loud. Elena was there before I'd even registered the sound of her running. She had my arm wrapped in a dish towel and pressed hard before I could tell her I was fine. Sit down, she said. Not a request. I sat. Rain had started outside, hitting the tin roof of the shop like gravel being thrown, and the two of us were on the floor of my shop, her hand steady on my arm, Sam standing off to the side gone very pale and very quiet. You didn't have to do that, Elena said. Didn't think about it, I said. Just moved. She looked up at me then, and something in her face had cracked open, the careful part she kept in place around everyone else. I don't know when it started, I said, the words coming out before I'd decided to let them. Watching you with the kids, and the flower, and the gate, I thought I was going to lose you today, standing there, and I realized I don't know what I'd. Mom. Sam's voice, small, from the doorway. The sentence died there. I never finished it. Elena didn't say anything either. She just leaned forward, pressed her forehead against my shoulder for a second, careful of the towel and the blood, and stayed there. Not a word. Just the weight of her, steady against me, the rain going on outside like it had somewhere to be. That was the whole answer. It was enough. Later that night, after the arm was stitched and Sam was asleep and the other two had been talked down from hysterics about Daniel's blood, Elena found me on the porch. She didn't say anything about arrangements or work schedules or any of the practical shape our lives had been living inside of. She just sat down next to me, close enough that our shoulders touched, and didn't move away. Monday, she said quietly, I think we should talk about the room situation. I understood what she meant without her explaining it. The arrangement, whatever it had been before, wasn't going to hold its old shape anymore. I didn't say anything either. I just reached over and took her hand, and this time neither of us pretended it was an accident. 6 months later, the fence gate still sticks a little in the cold, but it holds. We built a new shelf in the shop together that spring. Sam held the level, Elena drove half the screws in crooked because she refused to let me take over, and I sanded the edges twice to cover for it. It's not perfect. You can see where the boards don't quite match. We left it that way on purpose. The curtains in the front room stay open now. Every morning, first thing, rain or not. I don't remember deciding to start doing that again. I just noticed one day that I had, and that Elena had noticed too, and neither of us said anything about it. Marjorie still runs the flower shop. She nods at us now when we pass, and once, back in the spring, she brought a bundle of daisies to the shop and set them on the counter without a word before walking back out. Elena put them in a mason jar without comment. Some things don't need a conversation to be settled. The little one, her name's Grace, I should have said that a long time ago, was the one who did it, in the end. It was a Sunday, all of us out back finishing the shelf, and she was sitting on an overturned bucket watching the whole operation with that same careful stare she'd given me the very first day. "You're not renting anymore," she said, to nobody in particular, like she was reading a fact off a label. "You live here now." Nobody had said it like that before. Elena went still, sander in her hand, not moving. Sam looked up from the level. I just stood there holding a screwdriver, feeling something settle into place that had been unfinished for a long time. Grace didn't notice any of that. She'd already lost interest and gone back to drawing something in the dirt with a stick. That night, after the kids were down, Elena and I sat on the porch the way we do most nights now. She had a dish towel in her hands, folding and unfolding it out of habit while she watched the yard go dark. "She wasn't wrong," Elena said. "No," I said. "She wasn't." I looked at the shelf through the shop window, crooked screws and all. I looked at the curtains, open behind us in the house. I looked at her. "I've got a house that isn't quiet anymore," I said. "Kids who leave drawings on my workbench. A gate that sticks but holds. That's not nothing to me. That's more than I thought I'd get to have again." She didn't say anything back. She just reached over, took the wrench out of my hand where I'd been turning it over without noticing, and set it down on the step between us. Then she took my hand instead.